The easiest way to explain intimacy work is it's sort of like fight choreography for intimate moments of physical, often it's defined as physical and sexual contact, but there's an expanded version that also allows for intimacy to talk about any sort of protected class or sensitive category. So sexual identity, for me, a big one is cultural identity, right? So sometimes I am a liaison between people. For this production, I've met with costumes, I've met with house management, as well as working directly with Jamil to craft moments in the story. There's things that we do in every production, things like boundary practice, finding out where people are okay being touched, right? So there's an exercise that we do where we ask, like if you were to just ask somebody, are you okay being touched? People often say, yeah. And you're like, great, can I stick my finger up your nose? And then people are like, oh. And so it's actually a tactile exercise that one introduces the idea of physical contact with each other without the pressure of like, now you're performing for a room of people, right? It's an exercise, and it's an exercise that really articulates consent and boundary practice. And so that was really important. For me, the other thing that I love deeply about this play is I'm interested in physical touch and movement as storytelling practice, but I'm also really interested in the dramaturgy of intimacy, right? So I think the way that people interact sexually tells a lot about culture, and it tells a lot about who we are as people. And one of the things I've said about this production is the two groups that are never allowed to be children, that we don't see as children in the media often, are Black children, specifically Black boys, and queer youth, right? And so in doing this choreography, I really have in the forefront of my mind not only how it can be beautiful, which the lighting designer and the director and the choreographer all help craft that picture, but also where are the moments of nervousness or play or giggling, right? Because these are kids. And I've really appreciated working with Jamil when he talks about like, what does softness look like to Black boys? Because often they're raised to not hear. We're all raised to be tough, right?
If not the last 15 years, definitely the last 4, as we struggle with what all led up to the murder of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and then the immediate aftermath of that. I think we recognize, like Kaja mentioned, that the opportunities for Black people to experience softness, and in this case, with the specificity of Black boys to experience softness, are so few and far in between. I don't, even growing up, like my mother created that space for me. I think I had a friend group that we were able to support each other in it, but it wasn't something that we talked about. It wasn't something that we celebrated. It just happened, right? So Kaja's intentional work of speaking about our physical boundaries, showing it on our body, that care that one takes for that other person to say, hey, I want to provide you the opportunity to treat me the way in which I want to be treated. And I received the gift of you giving me back that type of clarity. This is a space that welcomes the fullness of the Black experience, so that we can create it in the room in a way that's really authentic, and in a way that when someone sees it, if they're a person of that culture, if they align with that it all feels like home. And if they're not, then we don't want to provide a voyeuristic, but we want to really grant people the opportunity to bear witness to an experience that is unlike theirs, and hope that theater can do what it does best, and that's increase our capacity for empathy.